You know when you like chug an energy drink and within minutes your heart rate spikes and you just suddenly feel like you could run through a solid brick wall?
Oh, yeah, that instant jittery rush.
Exactly. Well, imagine that feeling, but in audio form. Welcome to this deep dive. Today our mission is to unpack the actual mechanics of modern motivational anthems and success formulas.
Right, and we have a really interesting source for this today.
We do. We are looking at a transcript of a new song by Billy Alsbrooks called Heart, along with his promotional pitch for a companion book. We are going to impartially analyze this fascinating blend of faith, grit, and hustle culture to see exactly how it's built to, alter your mental state.
Because it really is engineered emotion, right? I mean, it takes you from a baseline mindset and instantly elevates you into this space of intense motivation and readiness.
It totally does. But before looking at the practical steps to success he outlines, we kind of have to examine that initial emotional hook, the raw lyrical intensity that grabs you.
Yeah, the song focuses so heavily on defiance and resilience.
Right. He tells listeners they, quote, don't need no one's permission, and to channel every tear, use every scar. And there's this really intense fusion happening in the lyrics.
It's a very specific blend.
Yeah, it is. He blends raw personal grit, saying things like broken understands broken, with this massive divine backing. He claims God wrote my comeback story and Jesus Christ saved me.
And pairing extreme personal struggle with a grand spiritual destiny, well, that's a potent psychological tool, especially for audiences who are just feeling overwhelmed by opposition.
Right, because it reframes the struggle.
Exactly. It takes the feeling of victimhood and transforms it into a warrior narrative. You aren't just suffering, your pain has a profound purpose and, like, cosmic backing.
So it functions almost like spiritual armor for the listener. But wait, I have a question about this.
Sure, go for it.
If you are constantly focusing on haters and demons and a world that is going to, do everything it can to tear you apart, does that actually build resilience, or does it trap a person in a constant state of defense?
That is the big risk here. Setting up an us versus the world dynamic is incredibly effective for a short-term adrenaline rush. It rallies your defenses against perceived threats.
Right, it gets you fired up.
But living indefinitely in that state of hypervigilance, I mean, that requires a massive amount of psychological energy. It's almost guaranteed to cause burnout if you don't find a way to channel it.
And an adrenaline spike inevitably leads to a crash anyway. You can't live at a 10 out of 10 all the time.
No, absolutely not.
So if the song is just the spark, how do you actually keep the fire burning? That's the pivot Alsbrooks makes next when he introduces his 31-day devotional book, Blessed and Unstoppable.
Right, he's trying to build a bridge between a temporary emotion and a permanent habit.
Exactly. He prescribes a daily mental diet to facilitate that shift from passive listening to active habit building.
He actually calls it the inner mechanics required to go from average to phenomenal.
Which is a bold claim. Instead of just hyping you up, he's stacking daily Bible verses, teachings, affirmations, prayers, and self-assessments.
The goal is to force the brain to actively look for success triggers every single day.
But we do have to look critically at the bold guarantees he makes here. It's framed like a mental boot camp, sure.
Yeah, it's very structured.
But is reciting an affirmation genuinely going to cause, quote, favor to chase you down and open new doors of opportunity, as the pitch promises?
Well, objectively, reciting an affirmation doesn't magically alter the physical world around you.
Right, the door doesn't just unlock itself.
Exactly. However, from a psychological standpoint, constantly priming your brain with specific goals actually retunes your mental filter. Psychologists call this the frequency illusion.
Oh, wow. The frequency illusion. How does that work?
The world doesn't magically change, but because you spent your morning visualizing success, your brain stops filtering out the small opportunities that were always there. You're giving your mind a new target to hunt.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So the formula is essentially use the raw emotional power of faith and grit to break the listener out of a rut.
Yes, and then immediately capture that momentum in a highly structured 31-day psychological conditioning loop.
Whether you are fighting for a massive dream or you are just trying to get through a really tough week, the core thesis here is that success starts with putting the right things into your mind.
By explicitly designing this daily container, he's acknowledging that sustained motivation requires rigorous, intentional programming.
Right, but if our mental output is entirely dependent on that rigorous input, it leaves us with a pretty heavy final thought to ponder.
What's that?
Well, think back to that audio energy drink we started with. If achieving a truly blessed and unstoppable mindset requires 31 days of strictly curated affirmations, teachings, and action steps, What does that reveal about the hidden impact of the passive, everyday media we blindly consume during the other 334 days of the year?